Greetings, customizers. Welcome to the next misadventure at Talking Ants Customs. To all my subscribers, thank you very much. And if you're joining us for the first time, it's probably not the best video to watch. But anyway, long story short, I had a whole tutorial set up for practicing camouflage. And hey, look, we're going to do a Starduster Skyhawk. And when I was finished the project, something just wasn't right. And it was the color. Something was off. I couldn't tell which or what. So I went to my residential color expert and they agreed. So we're starting all over again from scratch. I had stickers on and everything. So as you can see from some of the paint damage here, I've pulled stickers off. I've also sanded this down to get rid of any edge on any sort of paint that was there. Oh my God, that was a brain fart. This whole project's been fighting me the entire way. So yeah, I had to do some repair work too on the original custom. So I've pinned and rotted the one broken side there, and it works quite well. But even in trying to save most of the stickers, this project just said nope. So it's been sanding and all that stuff. So on top of that, I've got to order another set of stickers for this. So there it is. The skis themselves on this particular set, the Skyhawk was pretty beat up when I started working on it. The skis are pretty chewed up badly. I wouldn't call them a replace just yet. I have one more set of 3D printed skis. I don't think we're there just yet, but even these wouldn't sit entirely properly. On top of that, the tail here was split, and I took that as an opportunity to try and see if I could split apart the Skyhawk. For those of you who haven't seen any of my other Skyhawk videos, the Skyhawks come factory glued together. And if they're not, or if they broke, then someone's parent lovingly glued it together with the strongest glue in the whole universe. So, yeah, I glued and clamped it, and that's fine. So this Skyhawk was really beat up pretty badly in the first place. And then I tried some new techniques for masking in here. Those did not work. I recovered it, but not well. So I went back to traditional all masking tape. And even there's a spot that I missed. So it's just been one frustration after another, and I was satisfied with the end result. It's just that it wasn't what I wanted it to look like. And I know that might not make much sense, but it's like, you know, when you set out to do a certain thing and you end up doing something else, and while that was fun, you still didn't do the thing you set out to do. That's what this was. And it really reminds me of a toy airplane from when I was a kid. It was a US Marine Corps Harrier. Yeah, so that was cool, and I think that's kind of what distracted me from the fact that the colors were off. It happens. Even with me, I've done scores of customs now, and things can go pear-shaped. So I figured rather than just do another team theme on this, we could actually do what to do when things go wrong. So in this case, and we'll talk about it from an airbrushing, a spray painting, and a brush painting perspective. We've already talked about how to apply paint with an airbrush, paint with an aerosol can, and hand brushing. In most of my videos, I do airbrushing because that's what I've got. So the first thing you have to do, it's common to all three, is make sure that any paint damage is sanded away. So if a paint chip comes off, and you can see in some cases it may or may not happen, it even took off the primer in this case. And I cleaned the plastic and everything, so it happens. So it is what it is. So in this case, you want to look at each paint chip and put your thumb or your finger around it, whatever works, and feel for any sort of three-dimensionality to it. Like you can feel the edge of the paint, or it dips down where there is no paint, however you want to look at the world. And then you want to sand that away. So I've sanded most of it away, but all you want to do is you don't need to go hard per se, but you need to do what's called feathering out. So you want to feather out those edges and make them kind of disappear so you can't feel anything anymore. You don't need huge grits of sandpaper to do it necessarily, it all depends. If you're using spray can paints, especially automotive paints, they're designed to be durable. So you might have to do a little bit more than that, but don't think you have to get a 40 grit sandpaper to reshape the whole thing. And the good news is that you won't necessarily have to reprime, because by sanding it, you're actually kind of introducing a micro grit or a micro roughness to the bare plastic, in which case paint should go right back over top of it again. But I'm treating this project as the one that's going to fight me the entire way. Probably, I'd say the second worst that anything ever has. So the first one's another story for another time because I don't have any more Kleenex left to cry with. So we're just gonna sand that off there, feather those corners, edges. If it damages any other paint, we'll just make sure that gets taken care of as well. And that's fine. Right now it's almost like we're in recovery mode rather than let's get the new custom done mode. And this could be used, these tips could be used if you bought, you know, I bought a custom Skyhawk off of eBay, which was nicely done, but if I ever decide to change it in the future, then I may have to apply some of these techniques as well. And not all the stickers cause damage, just some of them. So you don't have to start right from scratch and sand everything down. With brush painting, if you didn't eliminate all of your brush strokes through the light sanding, which I've talked to you about, then you'll want to sand those down. It's better to start with a nice flush surface if you can. Understanding that just because this has already been painted and primed and all that stuff and you've sanded away these errors, doesn't mean you won't have to go back and fix new errors. Okay, it's just, it is what it is. So I'm treating this outside coat of paint now because it was nice, it went on well, there was no issues with it. I'm treating this as the primer coat. So with the full expectation that any sort of damages that occur will have to get repaired as well. And that's all there is to it. It happens. It happens. Same thing, you know, like if you're using a spray can, you get a spray bomb. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. So we'll just work on that. I think we're good. Some paint came off there. And this usually happens, like there's a good friction fit with the Skyhawk parts. Some paint came off the tail there, and it always does. It almost always, almost without fail, it comes off. But you don't do a custom up to have it pulled apart. You have it sitting together in one piece, right? So anyway, I think we're good. Time will tell. Yeah, and even with this Skyhawk, I noticed that the split up the fuselage halves there is way worse than normal Skyhawks. It's just not a very good Skyhawk. But we're going to make it good because although I wasn't happy with the colors at the end of it, I'm really happy with the way the pattern looks and turned out. I am going to modify it slightly because what I found, and you might notice this in your styles as you develop as a customizer, is that I tend to be overly cautious with a lot of applications of things. And then, for example, I wanted the camouflage pattern to be actually a little bit smaller. I found the whole Starduster idea to be very evocative of World War II Marines. I don't know why, I don't know if it makes sense to anybody else, but that's what I pictured in my head. So while I like the pattern, I think it should have been smaller and I would have had more pieces of it. The light turquoise is the dominant color, and the, let's call it olive for now, would have been the splotch pattern color. But I think I might try and make a pattern a little bit smaller, a little bit tighter. Not the same size as if I stood Starduster right beside this and just one for one transferred the size of the camouflage splotches. I want it to be scaled. I want to better scale my camouflage pattern to the custom. And that's something that's hard to do when you're doing camouflage, is figuring out the scale or the size of the pattern. You know, is the blotch, the size of the pattern, is the blotch so big that it doesn't look like camouflage? And the scale of it is, do I have enough on there to make the pattern look good? That's the way I view it, as the difference there. So, now hit this just a little bit more here. And that's it. The other thing you got to fight, that happens to me all the time, is now that I know I've made this mistake, I feel like I'm behind schedule. And it's silly because there is no schedule, right? So fight the urge, if you get it, to try and rush through this. And that's all there is to it. I mean, sanding, sanding, sanding. Get it sanded here. Like I said, if you get a little bit of the paint off here, it's fine, because now this is the new base coat. This is the new primer. You could reprime this, absolutely, but I'm trying to show you the sanding technique of feathering out the edges and doing it. No problem. Will I end up paying for it later? Oh, probably. But it's supposed to be fun, right? Everybody's having fun. It's fun. Yay. For those of you joining for the first time, there's like 65 odd episodes for this channel, so maybe go back and try and find the one with the red and blue, or blue and red, depending on how you look at the world, polar battle bear that we did up in Cobra colors. That's kind of your starting point, talking about the general ins and outs of customizing. This one here is where we're already dealing with the things go absolutely pear-shaped. I had preserved, like I normally like to do with my Skyhawks, the original vintage sticker, but I said, you know what, because I got to repaint this thing, I have so many Skyhawk sticker sets from other customs that I've got all these control panels that aren't being used. And the difference between the vintage control panel and the replacement retro sticker, whatever you call it, Toy Hacks control panel is that they have more colors on the buttons. And you know what? I think I want that. So I took that off. We're good to go. I'm having a great time, aren't you? Oh dear. Yeah, when it goes wrong, it goes wrong. So this is what I went through to mix the colors in the first place. I was looking at a few examples of figures, and some of them were more sun faded than others. And the lighting in the pictures on the internet was different, blah, blah, blah. And it can throw you off sometimes, and I think this is a perfect example to show you how much it can throw you off. So I was messing with which green it was going to be mixed with which blue. And then the olive drab part got lightened and darkened and all sorts of things. And if you can see here, there's actually 4 or 5 different tones here of the pale blue green color. And under the lighting I have, I was like, yeah, that's it. And I think I was trying to overcorrect for the lighting issues in the photographs. So when I spoke to my color expert, they said, yeah, it's like teal. I'm like, okay, well, that's easy enough. So I had to hand mix, which it's going to happen. You can't avoid it. I try to avoid it like the plague, and I don't know why. I'm reasonably good at it and relatively comfortable with it, but I had to mix. And in this case, all I had to do was lighten a pre-existing color. And the good news is that color, and it'll be a little bit lighter than this too, I just knew I was going in the right color family, is the Cockpit Emerald Green Faded from our Dreadnought Customs, right? So how dope is that? You get to use paint you already got. The green, however, on a couple of examples of Starduster isn't actually green. And I'm going to pop a photo up right now. And if you look at Starduster there, his camouflage splotches aren't actually green or olive drab. There's almost a yellowy brown to it. And it's a little on the nose, me saying that, because I will be using Vallejo Yellow Brown. To my eye right now, to my adjusted eye, my relaxed eye, it seems more like a good color. And it's just not, I mean, if it ends up being not as green as it should be, then this should be mixed with an olive green to make it the color that's on his pants. And the reason why I want to do that, and I want to fight that as much as I can to get that right color, is because I think if you don't do this really accurately, then you're going to get gung-ho. And that's not a bad thing either. I mean, he's a Marine too, and this is going to look very Marine-ish in its theme, right? And that's not a bad thing, but I'm trying to fight for that Starduster look, and some of it has to do with the stickers I'm going to use, and you'll see what I mean afterwards. So I've really got to fight and get that color, if not spot on to the sample photo I showed you, then far enough away from gung-ho's colors to be convincing. That's already going to be mostly done with this very light teal color. It's going to be carried the rest of the way, I hope, by the brown, green, yellow, whatever mix I'm going to use for the camouflage splotches themselves. So if you're brush painting this, you know, have at her. The thing with that is, just remember, like we talked about in the previous, the last time we did camouflage, was, you know, you can draw it out in pencil first if you want, et cetera, and then carry on and just make sure you get the good consistency of paint there, so you don't have to hit it a whole bunch of times with paint, and then you start building it up and it gets thick and fake and crappy looking. So all the same rules apply. Spray painting, mask it off, you'll get some hard edges. It'd be really hard to mask this, I think, for spray painting, but if you can pull it off, hey, well done. And for airbrushing, I'm going to be a glutton for punishment, and I'm going to try and freehand the camouflage. I freehanded this, and as you can see here, the soft edge is actually really good. I'm actually quite proud of that. It took minimal cleanup of the opposite color to get the pattern tight. And what I've done is I've actually started to switch my airbrushing, let's call it style, where I used to be more of a high pressure guy, and now what I've done is I've thinned my paint more and dropped the pressure down. And that took some time to experiment with and find, but I found that my overspray is far less. You get better control, so you can do more better detailed things with thinner paint. And still get the opacity of coverage. Like, it doesn't look like I squiggled brush. Oh my goodness. It doesn't look like I swiggled paint in there, okay? Oh man, that's what I get for only having 17 coffees today. Okay, so we are gonna get this, I mean, it's already primed, right? It's got the gray guns. All the gray accessories are gonna stay gray for this project, by the way. Technically, and I'm gonna reserve the right to make it a lighter gray because Starduster does have a lighter gray, but we'll just see. I don't necessarily like painting the skids because I want to put figures on the skids. and you'll definitely get paint transfer because those skid pegs are very tight for the figure's feet. Sacrifices, right? Sacrifice. All right, so I'm going to get this painted up in the light teal color. How I'm going to mix that up is that when I said I was close here, I was happy with the value of it, just not the brightness of it, tone, whatever. I always get those terms screwed up. So what I'm going to do is that when I'm mixing light colors, rather than adding the color and then adding white to it until I get it up there, because white's a relatively weak color, I'm going to make it mostly white, and then I'm going to tint it with the emerald green until I get that very light emerald green color, or teal in this case. That's what we're going to call it. So when you're working with light colors, or you need to lighten something, it's almost always better, well, not almost, you'll have to check it out, but try putting in the white first and then adding the color you're trying to change into it. So that way you're making the white do more of the work for you, or else you're going to have, 3 liters of paint and you're going to be all out of white for your next project. So yeah, let's go from there. Okay, I'm all mixed up here, not lost, but the paint is mixed up. Let's see if I can angle this light a little bit better. But you can kind of see there how turquoise it is, very teal, light colored. Pale though, so it may not show up well on camera, especially given the lighting here, but it is certainly brighter than it would be if I was trying to match Gung Ho's color. Come on, you can kind of see it there. Yeah, it's a little weird, but it'll be there. So now, how did I get there? Dumped a bunch of white in and started adding blue, a few drops at a time at first, just to push it into the teal realm, and then single drop, double drop, single drop, double drop, triple drop. I just worked my way up there eventually until I stopped and went, and that's it. And just when I thought I might want to put 1 or 2 more drops in it, I said, nope, stop. So now we're going to try this all again. And you can see right off the bat the difference in between this very pale blue-gray that I used here, technically of the same family of color compared to that. So yeah, right? Things go wrong. So I'm going to get this airbrushed up, and then we'll look at the base color. Okay, so now that we're done with the painting and the clear coating, a couple of things happened during the painting process. 1, I almost rage quit this project. 2, the green camouflage splotches actually changed the color a little bit. Actually, no, it was still in line with the 5 colors I mixed together. So I think I might have just added a little bit more of the white and the yellow to bring it up, just that one more little bit. Reason for that is that there was no reference that was constant or even consistent in the pictures that I found for Starduster. And because I'm trying to go Starduster on this Vice Gung Ho, really, depending on what reference you look at, I found some more and they're darn near identical. So The trick is in the green splotch, I think, and the Starduster one's a little bit lighter. Either way, it may look different to you on camera, and I guess the point at the end of the day is that this can be whichever one you want it to be. If you want it to be gung-ho or you want it to be Starduster, go ahead. And I found that to be the most frustrating part for this project. And I found that overall, when we talk about, be close enough, this one was a little bit harder to chase, and it actually highlighted some issues I've been having overall that really came to the forefront for this project. And that was consistent lighting, chasing colors, and I was settling a little bit on this one, quite frankly, to go, oh yeah, that's good. Oh, I like that, what that's doing, because so many of the colors triggered so many memories, like the hairier colors originally used, the desire to make it more like Starduster than gung-ho, thinking about 2 or 3 other projects that had similar camouflage, but I'm trying to balance them all out to be different enough, while maintaining consistency with the character, and then mixing the colors I have to achieve the results I want. So it was a little bit of a wolf in sheep's clothing, I think, but in the meantime, here we are. So I've clear coated everything as well. I made another design choice after checking my references, and his weapon is a slightly different gray than his gloves and his boots. So I'm using that for the easy way out here, and that, like I said, I wanted to avoid putting gray on the skis at all costs. So they're staying the same color, and that really kind of matches his weapon. And the gray I've got on the engines and the chin turret are the color of his boots and clothes. And the reason why I want to leave the skis kind of paint free for now is just depending on what I want to put on there. I might put 3 figures in there, I'm not sure yet. And the skis, and really most of the stuff, is easy enough to pop off and change the color for. So while the colors are close to each other, relatively speaking, this is a warmer gray, and quite honestly, with some paint tests I did here on my little Lazy Susan, the Euro 1 gray seems to be quite a close match. It's probably a little dark. I'd hit it with some white or something like that if I wanted to make it bang on. And I almost changed my mind and made the chin turret, the missiles and everything, the same color as the skis, but I said, no, let's leave the difference. It gives it a little bit of dimension. And yeah, that's kind of the way I stuck with it. So let's get this back together while we're talking here. And then, well, first things first, right off the bat, is while I'm waiting on replacement stickers for this project, I will get the cockpit one in there because I have plenty of those. And as I said before, there's actually way more colors on this. See how it's got some bright dials and stuff? So we're actually going to use this one, and we're going to go from there. So, see, this is the other thing too, is that the project has become so, I don't want to say haphazard, but certainly chaotic in trying to find these colors and get that right balance that, yeah, there's enough paint on here I could do 14 other projects that are completely unrelated. So let's just get that dashboard right in there. Just like that, and of course I go quiet because you know I'm concentrating. There we go. So there we go, we got our nice little control panel in there. I think that's nice. I don't know why and that was kind of part of the thing, is I've done a few of these Skyhawks as my subscribers have known, or if you just watch all the videos and don't subscribe, whichever, that I like keeping the same vintage sticker in there. And it was kind of like yeah, let's keep the original sticker because we're changing a bunch of other things on it, but really, like, why bother? You can, and really, I guess it was more just an exercise to see if I could mask off and make it blended in, and it works, so it's good to know, but it's not a requirement. The other thing I got to do actually is peel all the paint or the tape out of here. I keep forgetting about this stuff. So let's get this out of here too. And this was the secondary painting, right? So the liquid mask there, the unsuccessful, that's the word I was groping for, attempt at trying to use liquid mask to do the edges and stuff to really get the flow going in there was all part of it, but it didn't work. It was worth checking out just in case, and I'm sure it would work for other things because it is good for flowing into corners and stuff, just not so much with this, and it's probably just because of the limited access, and you know, my application was probably not the best. I am a little bit clumsy with this stuff, so that's not to say you folks out there shouldn't try this stuff. the creepiest thing when the tape doesn't let go. But you shouldn't try this stuff, but in the meantime, it can be a little bit daunting, unnerving. Yeah, and I'll have to fix that up. So you can see the chair still has some mess left over from the original here, and I'm just going to scrape off some of the other paint, clean it up a bit. Yeah, project is still good. This one's going to fight me until it's done. Until it's done. That might not even come off so well. We're damaging everything else. But I have a trick for that. Boy, do I have a trick for that. Yep, should be gorgeous. I'm going to touch that up with Euro 1 Gray. That's the name of it. Federal standard number is hiding somewhere. But either way, it's called Euro 1 Gray, and it's a warm, there it is. FS 36081, but it is called Euro 1 Gray because there's a Euro 1 camouflage scheme for military aircraft, maybe some vehicles too, I don't know. But yeah, it's a warm gray. And there's some other ones I can use too, some Warhammer grays, but it's gonna be a very dark gray to get in there. So we'll just keep that off to the side for now. I'm not too worried about it. It's something I can do when you guys aren't watching. And let's get these back to where they should be. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna get the fins on first. And I cleaned up the fins a bit with a knife because there was some mangled stuff going on here, which may have been the reason why they weren't sitting so well in the cavity here. But I'm not sure, to be honest with you. Oh, that went in much nicer. Or these won't stay much nicer. Well, it's about the same. So now I'm just trying to get, for whatever reason, the front forward edge of it does not want to lock in. It's a soft lock. That isn't going to work. It doesn't want to lock in. So I'm just trying to figure out how what I can jam in there to try and persuade it to get fully seated. Because it does kind of twist the skis a little bit. This whole thing's been rather deformed. Oh, did that just do it? That totally just did it. Okay, so I took some small scissors and just mangled it in there. And it mangled itself back out. Yeah, there's a... That's good enough. It'll sit. And the skis do what I want them to do, so that's okay. The Skyhawk definitely needed some TLC. It's been beat up pretty bad and split apart and all that stuff. But I think we made it into something cool. Something cool indeed. Yeah, and I don't know what it was. Like with this one, it was just a matter of everything just kind of disagreeing with the process. And so much fun, right? So much fun. Oh dear. But now we've managed to get it. And I found way more warping in this one than I've seen before. Just way more problems. So I guess the other lesson to pull away from this is that because you see, oh yeah, you know, he's done so many Skyhawks, or I've done so many of Vehicle X or Vehicle Y, doesn't mean that you can't have new problems present themselves to you, especially when you lower your guard. And I think with this one, I definitely lowered my guard a bit. And now I'm going to show you on screen. This is clear nail polish. This is something that is a trick to be used when you need to thicken plastic to make something less wobbly. It's a really crappy explanation. But what it does is basically you're putting a clear coat on the plastic to make it thicker. And then when you put something like engines in, you can do this on action figure knees and stuff like that too. Let it 100% dry and cure first. But now, when I put the engines in, they won't flop around. Yes, the paint has added some extra layers in there, but they're mostly thin layers. That will actually thicken that up nicely, place the engines in, and they'll stay whichever position you want to put them in. That doesn't make them indestructible per se, i.e. you can still get paint rub and all that kind of stuff, but clear coating something is definitely a good way to, clear coating with clear nail polish is a good way to thicken up a joint so that you get more contact. So let's say it was loose in there before. By putting the clear polish in it, you're essentially making this joint become more like this, and then you have firm seating, okay? But just keep that in mind when you're positioning your pieces too on the final result. Get my rockets in here too. There we go. But yeah, so many things fought me on this one. And I wanted to share that. It's like, hey, look, sometimes things just don't go well. Because back in the beginning, it's like, the whole point of this channel was to show you, hey, here's what it takes to do the stuff that you see elsewhere. And here's how you can do it yourself, and et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, I've shown you one or two mistakes, but this one was just, this was like trying to ice skate uphill the entire time. So much fun to be had, really. It was almost nauseating. So you know what? Let's get some gray in there. I got to wait for the nail polish to dry there, and I don't want to put the canopy on while I've still got to do some work on the seat. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up the edges a bit here, a little bit of overspray, which is again expected. But in this case, I want to add paint to the seat rather than try and take it away. I scraped off a bunch of that liquid mask with some low odor enamel thinner. Now we're going to be additive in our, ooh, that's too light. We're going to be additive in our process to fix it. Let's do a little test with this. I think this will be one of those colors where it's close enough that it's not going to do anybody any harm if I use it to fix all these mistakes here. I'm just going to get the right brush though. Little fine brush. And just work it. Yeah, and the mixing for this one, it wasn't fun. The turquoise, the teal color, which is really what it did. When it was dark, it was turquoise, but now that it was this light, it was teal. I could have gone even lighter to match some of my references, which was just, it was frustrating. Yep, just frustrating. A lot of the times you do this stuff and it's like, all right, I want to do, I don't mind putting an effort, like who doesn't, right? But it was just pain in the butt. It was just a pain in the butt. Will I do this scheme again? Absolutely. Will I tackle it differently? Absolutely. The thing to remember, I told you I used 5 colors to get this green. Could I have used a different starting point? Maybe. It was just the path I went down, which may or may not have been beneficial for the purposes of building this thing. But either way, let's get this canopy on. And I was checking my references as well. And it was interesting because I said it was from Starduster was from 1987. Now I'm seeing some references that say 1985, which makes it a little bit frustrating. So at that point, it's 1980 whatever. For this, I'm still going to use the shadowed G.I. Joe logos for it, simply because it will eliminate the possibility of having the white be somewhat translucent and see-through. I'd like to get that nice bold logo on there, and I think it'll look really sharp. But yeah, so let me get some stickers on this bad boy, and we will carry on. All right, here we are with some stickers on the final project. Even got a pilot in there already. His name's Outlaw. He's a third-party figure. We'll do a future episode about that together. So let's talk about it. I had this project completely done. In fact, a whole previous episode filmed for this project. And after sitting and looking at it for a day, I realized that I had lost the focus or the intent of that project. So the technical execution of it was fine. The sticker choice was good. Sticker placement was good, but the colors were off. Because the pattern and what I was trying to accomplish was very evocative of other things, and my brain focused on those other things. And I think that's what influenced me to pick the colors I did and carry on with it, saying, yeah, it's fine. It was fine because it was reminding me of something else, which was related to what I was trying to do. It sounds really weird, but that's my story and I'm sticking to it. So in this case, this episode was about fighting through a project that was giving me trouble. And like I said, I had gone all the way to the sticker phase, completed, filmed episode. And I just said, nope, stop. There's something off. What is it? And I waited and I found it. So you got to see me go through the whole process again with the same vehicle. So with the stickers, I used the Sky Patrol logos and everything like I said I would. It gives you that shadowed G.I. Joe logo there, see all the black underneath. The original Skyhawk G.I. Joe label is not like that. It's very two-dimensional and white and a little bit translucent. I didn't want to risk that being chopped up with the camouflage because I like a nice, clear, plainly visible G.I. Joe logo. And it's a little bit longer than the original. It goes past this vertical line here for the rudder, which I'm fine with because it does that on the Sky Patrol Skyhawk. Changed the color of the engines, the rockets, and the turret. It's close to the skis, but it's a little different. It's certainly very evocative of an original G.I. Joe gray. I love it. And that's really the size of it. We got some United States stickers on there. The reason being is I wanted to put the star on top because on Starduster's helmet there's a little star at the front, so I wanted to bring that theme forward. And I compared it with my Dreadnought VTOL, and that's when because I was still working with this color, and this is the color that provided me with the most problems, the very light teal, whatever you want to call it. And I was trying to find that right tint of it, and even then thinking, oh, it's too green, it's too green. Well, with a lot of yellow light, it's going to look green. I took it into a room that has yellow light, and oh my goodness, it looked like electric green. But when I looked at it upstairs in the sunlight, no problem. So I am happy with these colors, and they are going to stay like this. And when I sat the Dreadnought VTOL next to it, it was like night and day. So we're good to go there, which is good because that Dreadnought color, this is the Dreadnought color lightened with white, but in its purest form, it's actually going to serve as the basis for another camouflage scheme for a future project, which this is a warm-up for. And that's really all there is to it. Other than that, there was nothing too fancy. I haven't put anything on the bottom here yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to. There's a sticker that comes on the Skyhawk sticker set that I find to be personally quite, well, it's useless. I think it's when they started getting into the stickers that were, for lack of a better term, stupid. That's the only word I can think of. Is you know, a lot of these, they have the rescue arrows here, for example, and those are on real aircraft because it shows crews where to go to pop open canopies and stuff like that. The danger in front of a gun, yeah, it's a little bit on the nose, pardon the pun, but it works, you know, beware of blast. Everything was cemented in real life. Well, the Skyhawk sticker that goes on the bottom here says 550 rounds per minute, and it's like, you would never put the rate of fire of a thing on there. And I don't know, sometimes it rubs me the wrong way, sometimes it doesn't, and for this one I didn't want to do it. Maybe because it was mostly red, and I really like the way these two colors interact with each other. I didn't want to disturb it with anything else. So, and it's underneath, so you can't see it anyway. And that's all there is to it. Yeah, I mean, so we had to repair it. It was a Skyhawk that needed some TLC. I went ahead with a project that I was convinced was correct, and then at the end of it, it was just no. So we've spoken about pre-visualization, drawing out your idea, thinking about it, talking about it, and I made it all the way through all of those phases. It got right to the end, and it just didn't happen. I don't want to say that to scare you, saying, are you telling me that, what if I think I'm right and I'm wrong, and I start questioning all my customs? No, not at all. Just don't be, I guess what I'm trying to say at the end of the day is, if you get to the end of a project, and that's when you decide it's not right, that's fine. Just go back, start again. Not a big deal. Get some different stickers, try and save as many stickers as you can. It's gonna happen, right? All the different, you know, ins and outs of customizing, you're gonna run into some colorful mistakes, and some of them I might not even end up covering on this channel. You might even discover whole new ones, in which case tell me about them. But you know, that's the size of it, and now I've got a very lovely Starduster themed Skyhawk for the display. So I hope all your projects are going fantastically well, and hopefully you didn't end up doing what I did in this episode. But this is all just to show you that everything will work out in the end. To all my subscribers, thank you very much. And if you're joining us for the first time, consider a like and subscribe. All this stuff is free. All my reviews are not sponsored. The whole channel is, I don't make any money off any of this stuff. This is just a place to come and either A, learn something new, or B, if you think I'm crazy, just to see what I'm going to do next. So in the meantime, be safe and have fun.